Okay, so in week 2, we will discuss block 2, session 11, employee relations and globalization. So you will notice that throughout block 2, we are going to discuss globalization more and more. Okay, now specifically here, we will be discussing the international labor market. So what we have said in the previous session in week 1, we said that when we have international operation, then the organizations are spending money across countries. Okay, they are paying and receiving money across countries and not in the same country. Okay, now one of this financial implication means that there will be an international labor market. So when you go overseas, you will not expect that the employees will be from your home country, right? You will be employing people from the local market in which you are operating. So this international labor market was created because of globalization. And globalization has created an increasingly international labor market. So again, Coca-Cola, when they want to produce their products in Saudi Arabia, they want to build a factory and they want to employ people from inside Saudi Arabia. They might bring some key employees from their headquarters, yes, but the majority of the labor force will be from the country itself. So think about all the international organizations that are working nowadays. They are becoming more and more. Think about all the restaurants you go to, all the brands you buy from, and all, you know, the stores, the car manufacturers and stuff. All of these are international organizations, right? So individuals are applying for jobs across the world, and they are no longer restricted to simply choosing opportunities in their own country. Now, nowadays, it's very normal for people to seek opportunities in a different country and not necessarily in their home country. So, and this has been made more and more possible by the availability of globalized organizations. So employers and employees must be aware of this global employment trend and the effect of it on employment. So the growth of international labor market offers organizations and its members a number of new possibilities. So now we have a bigger number of candidates that would apply to a certain position. Okay, you are no longer restricted as a company, you are no longer restricted to only the candidates from your country. Okay, anybody could fill this position. So now there is higher competition, and there is more opportunities for both individuals and companies to find a better match for the job positions. All right. So when this happens, we need to engage in what we call cultural exchange. Okay, we need to learn about each other's cultures in order to understand how we can deal with each other's. This would lead us to multiculturalism. Okay, so this is a very significant new value where multi-cultures are, you know, working together now. They are connecting with each other's, and despite their cultural differences and ethnic differences, they are finding ways on how to merge together and work together. Because organizations are, you know, they are composed of many different cultures and they operate in different parts of the world. So we have to understand other cultures if we want to do business there, right? And also, multiculturalism represents the ways organizations must manage and take advantage of this multiculturalism if they are to be globally competitive. So if you want to be globally competitive, we need to understand very well this, this factor, which is multiculturalism. Now, here comes the role of human resource management. As you know, human resource management is a business function responsible for hiring employees and responsible for retaining and training employees and, you know, basically doing anything related to employees. So in this case, our HR function is extremely important, and it helps organizations go through the different types of individuals and candidates that could be suitable for a certain position. HR management needs to embrace this change. They need to start making sure that everybody in the organization knows how to deal with this multiculturalism. It's the role of HR. So HRM in a global context, what does it mean? Stakeholders and globalization. The word stakeholders mean anybody who is directly connected to the organization, whether it's employees or customers or shareholders or the community itself, anybody that has a direct relationship with the organization is called a stakeholder. So we want to create this win-win situation for employers and employee. We want to find a balance of interests. Yes, of course, suppliers as well, Dana. Thank you. This balance between the different types of stakeholders in an organization. Maybe they have different interests. Maybe they have different cultures. Maybe they have different views on how they want to do business and how they want to operate. So here comes again the role of HR to set out this expectation and make sure that those differences actually lead us to a win-win result and not to conflicts. So here HRM stands out as a crucial force for navigating these often competing organizational demands. These organizational demands, they propose and champion corporate social responsibility with HRM in both terms of the firm's internal processes and external impact. So HRM needs to encourage, again, I said it before, let me repeat it here. They encourage those differences and they try to bring outside voices to the attention of decision makers. It includes voices that may not be aware of, as well as those of members who may feel marginalized. How would you feel marginalized? You feel marginalized when your voice is not heard. When you feel that anything you say or suggest or propose is not being taken into consideration. So here the role, and this could be because of cultural differences, okay? So the role of HRM is to make sure that people are participating, they have their voices heard, and they don't feel they are marginalized. So doing that could be very beneficial on the long term because it allows people to work better for the same goal, which is the goal of the organization. So the role of HRM in globalization, again, it's a major role because it reduces the differences and the conflicts between the different parties, the different stakeholders, and at the same time, it limits its ability to set organizational strategy and priority, because the emphasis on the free market has led to declining worker protections and wages. So what is going on is that, for example, a company would go to a developing country, we discussed what a developing country is, that has much lower wages, and they want to open a factory over there. Okay, so for example, a company like Zara, they go to factories in China and they say, well, we want you to produce our products. Why? Because it's much cheaper. Now, Zara would be employing employees that are that don't have, you know, enough wages and benefits and stuff. All right. So here comes a conflict between the original company, like Zara or Nike or Gap. All of these companies have had these issues, and the factory in the developing country, who is employing people for very cheap and very low wages and very low benefits. Okay, so again, HRM here has a conflict. The conflict is, should I care more about the profitability of the company, or should I care more about the worker protections and wages? So here comes the conflict of HRM. Okay, so this had created conditions for massive job insecurity. So people started to feel that their jobs are insecure, they are not happy in their jobs, and this is why we suggest that HRM should actually work with managers. Is it clear so far? Are there any questions that you want me to address? Okay, so, okay, great, Sarah, thank you. So globalization creates some obstacles as well for organizations, for survival and success. It doesn't mean that any organization who goes international is going to be successful. Okay, sometimes those organizations have big obstacles to cross. Now, for private companies, maximizing profit becomes not only a desire, but a requirement. It means that even if senior managers wanted to introduce more balanced priorities, they would be restricted in doing so by global competitive pressures. Why? Because of competition, because of huge competition in the marketplace and in the world right now. Companies want to be competitive, and in order to be competitive, they want to reduce their costs. And in order to reduce their costs, they want to hire employees with lower wages and lower benefits. Okay, so it's all related. So all of these are international pressures and international workforce that is putting those international organizations at stake. Okay. And, you know, foreign markets are unpredictable. And in order to be able to cope with the needs of the diverse contexts, they are, you know, they need to know the culture and the context that they are operating within. So what do we call that? Do we call it progress, or do we call it race to the bottom? Are we racing to the top, or are we racing to the bottom? It feels like as international organizations are trying to reduce and reduce and reduce their prices and their costs, they are racing to the bottom. Okay, but actually this is, you know, making people more and more having less benefits and less quality of life and so on. So the universal adoption of the free market would break down national economic barriers and allow for greater movement between nations and regions. So this free market concept breaks down between regions and nations. So the region is, for example, the Middle East is the region, and nation is the Arab nation, for example. Okay, so it would also free up countries with outdated bureaucracies and unaffordable welfare systems to new sources of capital and entrepreneurship. So we're saying here that it has an advantage of improving some people's or some nations' way of thinking from bureaucracies and from being very slow in improvement into, entrepreneurship and coming up with new ideas and doing things differently all the time. So these realities of globalization are different. Lots and lots of people have been lifted out of poverty. Global inequality has risen dramatically. Maybe what we should be start thinking of is the race to top and not the race to bottom. So human resource management can come here and help those organizations to promote the better working conditions and the stronger commitment to ethics. Instead of trying to lower the prices all the time, we need to start thinking about ways of how to improve the quality of life of people and improve their working conditions. Because probably when we do that, those same people will give us more and will create more and will create better products. They will be more innovative and we could benefit more from their innovations. Okay, so the question here is, do organizations have the desire to do that, to take themselves to race to the top? Okay, even if they are not able to reduce the cost by so much, but they could go to the top instead of just trying to compete on the costs all the time. Okay, let us compete on quality, the quality of life that we could provide, and the benefits that we could provide to the people, and so on. All right. Any questions? I think this is all. Yeah, this is all. We talked about innovation, that when you try to reduce your cost so much, you are not giving incentive to any innovation. Okay, you are making people feel like they are robots. They are doing repetitive jobs and just doing the things over and over again. The new concept, the new way of thinking is that by racing to the top, we want to give some incentive for people to be more innovative and have this newer way of thinking. All right, so this is all for week 2. Do you have any questions?